All right, let's get started and welcome once again to everyone joining us for our latest merchant webinar in our merchant webinar series. Today we're going to be looking at 4 shipping myths for the modern e-commerce business, and we've got our friends at 71 Pounds, one of Zoe's longest partners, on the line today to discuss this. Before we begin, we'd like to remind you, for those who are part of the webinar series and have joined us in the past, and for those of you who are new and aren't familiar with how this works, what we'll do is during the presentation you can submit questions. Those questions can be put right into the panel in the GoToWebinar app that we use for this presentation, and those will save up, and at the end of the presentation we'll go over those questions as part of our Q&A. So while you're listening in, if you hear anything that you'd like to have more clarity on, feel free to submit those questions in real time, and we'll definitely cover them before we conclude the presentation. If we happen to run out of time, we'll send out written answers, but usually we have more than enough time to cover your questions on the call. And we also want to remind you that this is part of a series, so join us at zoe.com/webinars to see a complete list of sessions, including recordings of webinars we've done before. I think we're actually at 25 recordings now. We've been doing this for about 2 years, so definitely been building up a library of useful content for you to enjoy. Not only are the recordings available on that page, but you can also go to our YouTube channel. Just search for Zoe there, and you'll find all of these recordings. And as I mentioned, we have been working with 71 Pounds a while, so we have done a couple of previous webinars with them on some other topics. Be sure to check them out, or you can learn a little bit more about them on the app page, zoe.com/apps/71pounds. You can also just search 71 Pounds in the App Store to find them. They have a lot of great features and tools to leverage to make you more savvy when you're talking about shipping and making sure that you're not overspending. But we'll learn a little bit about that in the presentation now. So it's my pleasure to introduce Jose, who's actually the founder and CEO of 71 Pounds. So you're hearing from the best today. And he'll get into more detail about these 4 shipping myths and how you can avoid falling into those traps. So Jose, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Thank you, Joshua. Appreciate the invite, and as you mentioned, congratulations on the last 25 webinars that you had. So thank you for the invite. See if this works.
Looks good here.
So over the next 15 or 20 minutes or so, we'll cover a few of the topics on the screen. We're going to talk about 4 common shipping myths in e-commerce, resources that will help you address these, and potential Q&A that we can answer. Is the screen okay? Should I block this particular piece, Joshua?
Everything looks good here. I got you full screen.
Okay, got it. So, as Joshua mentioned, my name is Jose Lee. I'm the founder and CEO of 71 Pounds. I'm going to take 30 seconds to give you a little bit about my background. So, I spent the last 20 years in the intersection of shipping, e-commerce, and logistics. Worked for Alibaba.com, the Chinese e-commerce company and marketplace. I was actually a shipper myself. So, worked for Jamba Juice. We did a couple of hundred packages every day. Didn't have time to do anything else besides shipping product out the door. Interestingly, I was not aware of the MoneyBack Guarantee policy at the time. And then from Jamba Juice, I went to the quote dark side and joined FedEx in their headquarters. I was fortunate to run the retail and e-commerce practice and work with a lot of the large merchants in my first couple of years at FedEx. And then my latter time, I spent a lot of time with small and medium-sized companies. And what I learned was 2 specific things at FedEx. One, the number one most common pain point that companies have in regards to shipping is how can they save more money in shipping? And the second one is they needed help in understanding their shipping costs. So with that, I thought that there had to be a better way. So about 7 years ago, left FedEx and I started 71 Pounds. So those are the 2 primary objectives that we try to accomplish with 71 Pounds when helping our customers. So the number one myth that we hear from customers all the time. Yes, the refunds apply only to overnight shipments, but they don't apply to ground. And the reality is that the guarantee refunds apply to overnight shipments, ground shipments, even international shipments. So as an example, packages that are sent overnight typically have a guaranteed time commitment. Next day, 8 o'clock in the morning, next day, 10:30 in the morning, or 3:30 in the afternoon. So one example, we ship a package from Fort Lauderdale, Florida here. We want it in New York City tomorrow at 10:30 in the morning. If the FedEx or the UPS driver delivers that package at 10:31 or later, the merchant is entitled to get 100% of that money back. The catch is that the refund is not automatic. So FedEx and UPS may say to you as a merchant, hey, merchant, we're sorry, your package was delivered at 10:43 in the morning. What they don't say is, here is your $43.95 back. So the merchant has to, A, know about the money-back guarantee policy, which most merchants are not aware of. B, they have to do some research. They have to find out that their guarantee time commitment was 10:30 in the morning, that the package was delivered after that 10:30 commitment, and then they have to actually claim or call FedEx and UPS and try to get that money back. And it's typically a manual, cumbersome, inefficient process. Depending on who you ask, $2 billion or more are left unclaimed every year. In the particular case of overnights, yes, these are time-definite shipments that are guaranteed. Also, ground shipments are day-definite guarantee. So using the same example, a package from Fort Lauderdale to New York City is most likely going to be a 3-day ground service. So if the package gets shipped on a Monday, the carrier has until Thursday end of day to actually deliver that package to be on time. If the ground shipment is delivered Friday or later, the merchant is entitled to get 100% of their money back. So again, the typical misconception is that the refunds apply only for overnight. They apply for international. They also apply for ground shipments. Second myth that we hear is your shipping agreement waivers are worth the extra discounts. So one of the questions that we've been getting more recently is, as an example, my sales rep is offering me an extra, couple of percentage points in exchange to waive the money back guarantees. Should I accept? So a few comments here. Most sales reps tell their customers or merchants that they have the best discounts in the fill in the blank here. Town, city, state, region, whatever place you want to call it. The reality is that most are not getting the best discounts. Unfortunately, most merchants don't have much benchmarking data to compare if their rates or discounts are good or if they're better in comparison to others. Many times they have to rely just on what their sales rep is telling them. So we found that many of our customers do get to have that extra or additional discounts and rates without having to agree to the waiver. Oftentimes, what it takes is that they have to ask the sales rep, to remove that waiver. And for the most part, after some back and forth, they actually do. Shipping insurance. So third myth that we hear, shipping insurance only applies to the wholesale value, not the retail value. So let's use an example where the cost of an item is $50 and the merchant sells that item for $100 to their customers. Many times, if that package is lost or damaged, the merchant will file a claim for $50, not $100. What we do is we coach and we advocate for our customers to file that claim for $100, which is really the retail value of that loss or damage claim. When merchants use the carrier's declared value protection, what they're doing is they're at the mercy of the carrier's rules. If the carrier thinks that the merchant did not properly package that shipment, as an example, they will actually deny the claim. Unfortunately, the carrier in this particular case is judge and jury in this transaction. So myth number 4, chargebacks are a one-way street. They just can't be won. So let's talk about chargebacks for product not received, which is typically called PNR, sometimes called Visa Code 30 chargebacks. So this is typically a $20 billion problem in the industry. So let's use another example. So consumer Peter buys an item, let's say from a phone from a merchant called Electronic Joe's. Peter receives that phone at home, but for some shady reason, he decides to go to his credit card company and file a claim saying that he never received that phone. So the merchant now gets $500 frozen from their account. They're going to get a $30 chargeback fee, and they probably have about 15 days to prove that their customer, Peter, actually received and got that merchandise. Now, in this particular case, if the item was a $5 t-shirt, most merchants will typically not fight that claim and they would write off the loss. But a $500 item, yes, they're definitely fighting that one. And what we've seen is that some merchants have a whole claims or chargebacks team and processes, but most don't. It becomes another cumbersome, manual, inefficient process that includes emails and spreadsheets. In our case, we have an automated proof of delivery tool that allows merchants to easily get their proof of delivery by making a couple of clicks on their website and getting that automated proof of delivery so they can actually dispute that chargeback. In that GIF that you see on the screen, you can actually see the signature of that consumer, which is really a slam dunk when trying to dispute that chargeback claim. So small steps, big impact. Some of the shipping decisions that we suggest. So we offer easy to understand shipping costs and metrics, allow you to do some account monitoring, and easy to access shipping data. A little bit about 71 Pounds. We're able to help merchants, customers, and sewing merchants with late delivery refunds, loss and damage refunds, invoice audits, freight savings, parcel protection, and other services. A little bit more about the company. So we're very happy to have over 5,000 customers or merchants. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Net Promoter Score, NPS. One of the proudest metrics of the company for me, myself, we're proud to have a 78 on NPS, and we've given millions of dollars in savings to our customers. Let me pause there, see if there's any specific questions, Joshua, that you can answer at this point.
Sounds good. So I'd like to remind those who are part of our presentation, if you'd like to submit a question, you can do so through the GoToWebinar panel, and we'll be able to address it right here on the call. For those of you who are watching the recording, you can email me, josh@zoe.com, and I'll work with the 71 Pounds team to get you the answers that you're looking for. While we're waiting for questions to come in, let's just start with a couple of basics for those who are not so familiar with 71 Pounds yet. What's the cost of the service?
Great question. So it's a contingency-based service. So companies sign up with us for free, and what we do is based on their spend, we charge them a contingency fee. So we only make money if we save our customers money first. Typically 50–40% of that refund is what we would actually charge our customers for.
Got it. So we'll break it down a little bit. So if you get a find a $50 refund for a customer, for instance, using sort of an example you had earlier in your presentation, 71 Pounds would basically share in the benefit of that. But if you don't find anything, then there's no cost.
Correct. Yes.
And then So for those who are listening and wondering how 71 Pounds interacts with Zoe, this is one of those times where this is not something that plugs directly into Zoe. This is actually something where they're working with your shipping provider. So you have a FedEx account or a UPS account and so forth, and they're basically looking at that data. So they don't actually plug into Zoe, but what they do is obviously they're looking at the shipments that you're placing for Zoe purchases and understanding when there's information that could be valuable there. And obviously that information includes refunds, but it could be other things as well, because you have a lot of tools actually that help customers sort of analyze their shipping and make better decisions. Is that correct?
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to talk about this or show it on the screen, but I think one of the benefits that a lot of our customers share with us is that we allow them to provide them with the dashboard that gives easy to understand, shipping costs and metrics. I don't know when you, Joshua, or any of the people in our audience last time logged into a FedEx or a UPS account, but it's very, I don't know if this is politically correct to say, very 1984-ish. So, just very, very difficult to compare and actually see meaningful data. So one of the things that we pride ourselves on is we've been able to take that data from FedEx, from UPS, do an apples to apples comparison, so customers could actually make meaningful business decisions out of our data, as opposed to just looking at numbers on a screen.
Right. I think honestly, if we're speaking sort of bluntly, I don't think UPS, FedEx, and so forth have the incentive to make this data more easy to understand, because they don't want it to be as easy to find those refunds or to find shipping patterns that might save money. They'd rather sort of just let be and let their salespeople tell you that you'll save 3% by waiving your right to a refund. So I think that's what you're doing, is you're empowering our Zoe merchants and other merchants to be able to understand the data that they have at their disposal and make better decisions for their business. I mean, shipping is an unavoidable cost, but it doesn't have to be as much as people are paying if they were able to make decisions based on that data.
Agree 100%, yes.
So we'll give it a minute or two more to allow any questions to come in. One other question, just based off of obviously, actually, I'll hold that for a second. I need to make this a little bigger so I can read it. So we have someone on the line who actually uses 71 Pounds and enjoys the software. Can you explain the benefits of your premium analytics and maybe define what premium analytics is to start, so those who aren't familiar know what it is?
So we offer, a basic, suite of analytics to our customers, and then we allow our customers to ask for specific customized reporting. Mm-hmm. So as an example, some of our customers ask for GL coding. They want to get their general ledger accounts tied into their shipping accounts, and they want to provide some kind of logic. As an example, all shipments that come from warehouse 1, that get transferred to warehouse 2, I want to account it as general ledger code number 73. I'm making up these numbers. Right. So we create the logic on our end and allow the merchant, the customer, to view that data on our premium analytics. So this is one example of how our premium analytics works.
Got it. So obviously you have baseline analytics that cover the standard use cases, but if you have more specific things that your business requires, you do have premium analytics options to take it a little bit further.
Yes. Makes
sense. So let me go back to that question I was going to ask you, but before I do it, I'm going to pull up the presentation here. Obviously, in terms of the myths that we discussed, we talked about the parcel protection and making sure that you're claiming it for the amount it's sellable for, not the amount that sort of your internal cost of it. Can you explain sort of how that works in terms of making sure the declaration is accurate? I mean, some people may be familiar with this at this point, but I think it's just good to kind of review that for those who are less familiar.
Yeah, I think it's just something that general nature, just customers when they buy the declared value from the carrier, by nature they just put in the cost of the shipment as the value that they want to insure. And when we do fight those claims for our customers, and we give them, let's say in this example, the $50, they come back to us and say, well, that's the cost of our item. That's not the $100 that's the retail price. And that's when, it becomes a learning lesson for both of us and say, okay, hey, next time that you insure that package, it has to be on the retail value, not on the cost value. And, it's a little bit of a tough lesson to learn at first, but then over time they get the gist of it and they start insuring for the $100 of the retail value.
Right, because obviously, if you're selling it to a customer and the package disappears, it was a $100 purchase. It wasn't your cost that you lost. It's the value of the item that was bought. In this case, the $100 price that the customer paid for it.
Yes.
Very good. So it doesn't look like we have any other questions. While we're waiting, I'll give everybody who's watching a couple more minutes. Really quickly, while we're doing that, I just want to remind everyone that we want to know your feedback about these presentations. So please let us know what topics you'd like to learn more about. If there's other topics in the shipping arena or other arenas you'd like to know about, email me at josh@zoe.com. Let me know what you thought of this presentation as well, and we'll certainly use that feedback to make sure that we're continuing to evolve our presentations. And one more time, we'd like to remind you that we have quite a few presentations at this point available. So go to zoe.com/webinars or find us on YouTube to see these previous presentations. And for those of you who are looking to watch the recording of this presentation, we usually send them out within 24 to 48 hours of the completion of the webinar. So we'll have that out to you before the week's end. Doesn't look like we have any more questions that came in. So at this point, I'll say thank you to Jose for joining us today and for presenting this information. We do want to remind you, if you're interested in 71 pounds, check out our app store and search for 71 pounds. There's a link there that'll take you to a page that lets them know that you're a Zoe customer. So that'll help them have sort of a head start in understanding a little bit about you and making sure that they're able to get you set up in the right way. Thank you so much, Jose. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thanks for the invite.
Absolutely, and thanks to all of you for watching. We'll see you next time at our Merchant Webinar Series. For now, this is Josh, signing off.
Bye.